What is up, everybody? We are First Seed Fantasy here with you for just kind of a glimpse into the fantasy playoffs. We're 1 week away. We've got our Week 14 matchups coming up this week, but we're jumping ahead. We're trying to get you and ourselves prepared for the fantasy playoffs, and get a good look and just kind of get into that mindset because we're all here. We've all claimed the first seed, obviously. So it's time. It's time to prepare and hunker down the fort and just make our teams that much better for the fantasy playoffs, and just highlight some guys we're excited to see during that stretch of time. But what's up, guys? Dante and Mike, how are you today?
Good, man. Good. First of all, happy holidays to you guys. I haven't been, I don't think the last time was before Thanksgiving. So, I hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving. I hope our people watching had a great Thanksgiving, and I hope they have a good Christmas and New Year's too.
Hell yeah, I'll double down on that. And also, if you're watching this video, most likely you are a playoff team at this point. So let's hope we can get you guys ahead today. Give you some good stuff to look at.
And hopefully we helped get you there in the first place. But if not, tune in. We're here to help you throughout the rest of this journey, and claim that victory. But getting to what the bulk of this is we're going to be highlighting some players. We're going to go through guys that we think are going to just absolutely ball out in this fantasy playoffs, and kind of the rest of the season. Basically, players who are high owned and players who we think are going to be super special. That's our ball out section. And after that is our league winner section. Players who are probably recent waiver ads, or honestly, probably still in your waivers. They shouldn't be, but if they are, snag them after we mention them. But recent waiver ads, like just kind of like the mid owned players, mid rostered players who we think are going to put up big numbers for these fantasy playoffs, and some desperation starts, whether it's this week, week 14, or just kind of going into these early stages of the playoffs. Players that personally we can put in our lineups, feel good about, but you still have to still have to say a prayer. But I'll explain that a little bit more when we get to those parts. But let's start with ball out. These guys that you drafted them day one, in your drafts, players that I owned that we think are going to be special. I'll kick us off, and it's Travis Kelsey. I don't think any one man is set up for a bigger dominant a dominant end of season like Travis Kelsey is, and he's already leagues ahead of the next tight end up. Basically, what I'm saying is if you have Travis Kelsey on your team, I really think you're already set up for success to make it to the championship. And I say that because, I mean, just looking at his rest of the season schedule, at least for fantasy playoffs, it is the second. Kansas City has the second easiest tight end schedule in PPR, at least. And that is insane considering Travis Kelsey could put up 40 points on any one team, but you face him against the easiest tight end teams, and we're going to see multiple touchdown games from this man. We've got Denver, Houston, Seattle, Denver again, and then Vegas. But hopefully, you're not playing fantasy playoffs week 18. But either way, Kansas City's rolling. Travis Kelsey is the target hog in this offense, and uh, I don't see how this man fails, and I don't see how he could have any bad games moving forward.
Yeah, I think it's on the verge of almost impossible for him to have a bad stretch here. So shout out to the Kelsey podcast, by the way. I don't know if you guys have been watching that. Don't you guys think that's amazing that they could both get on and do that?
I love it. I remember when early in the season when they talked about it, and they both just kind of highlighted that it was a good time because they both highlighted that during the NFL season they barely talked to each other, so they were like, "Oh, we put this podcast together so we could talk, we could chat," and I think that's awesome.
Yeah, they're both trying to expand the Kelsey brand. I mean, you even got the Christmas Carol kind of LP that uh, Jason Kelsey is doing right now. So with the O line, I think it's the whole team, but I'm pretty sure it focuses around the O
I think
line.
it's
So
I think it's the big guys.
Yeah.
It's a Big Man Carol podcast or
But
album.
yeah, they're definitely going to be in front of the camera. It looks like for the foreseeable future, whatever they do. So,
They're trying to be the new Manning brothers.
Hey, listen, I think they're better already, but I'll leave it at that. I'll get into mine. My ball out guy for the rest of the year, and that's pretty easy for me here. It's going to be Chris Godwin. This is a man that kind of like we said, kind of wasn't drafted in the earlier rounds in the draft, but the consistency that he has had, man, is just unbelievable. He's got one game this year below 10 points PPR, and it was literally week one where he got hurt and didn't play the rest of the game. This guy is going to be reliable. You could definitely rely on him from here on out. I like it even more that he does have a little bit tougher matchups. This isn't the easiest schedule going to the end of the year, but it has never mattered for that connection between Brady and Godwin. He's back to what he was doing last year, multiple targets a game. Besides week one, he only has 2 games this year with less than 10 targets. I expect that to go up even more as they kind of have to rely on each other with these tough games coming up. And obviously, with their situation, the Bucks are like a fringe division winner. I think they have a 1-game lead now. The whole division's kind of really whacked out. So I think they're going to be playing some competitive football. And I honestly do think that offense is going to go through Godwin. It's going to lean on Mike Evans for the big plays and the running backs to dump the ball down. So I'm all in on Godwin. Unbelievable numbers, super, super consistent. Like I said, 1 game below 10 points. And I think that you could see a few 20 bombs in these last few weeks here against tougher matchups. But San Francisco, Cincinnati, Arizona, really nice matchup. And then Carolina, if you make it to the Super Bowl, those should be some fun matchups there for you. So Chris Godwin is my guy. I'm all in on him.
yeah, the snap share and the target share are the most important things there. I mean, 13 targets the past 2 weeks is incredible. Even if he were to have like 4 catches, those 13 targets speak for themselves. So that's a great pick. I feel confident in. So moving on to my pick, I am rolling with DeAndre Swift. Now, for my fellow Swifters out there that drafted him in the first round, I understand your pain all too well, but this looks like this past week looked like it was going to be the kind of breakout that we expected from our first rounder. He had 14 carries, 62 yards, 4 receptions for 49 yards against the Jags. More importantly, he had goal line work. Now, if you watch the game, it was a hurry up kind of situation where Goff was just like, Swift had the carry the first and he got stopped, and then Goff was just immediate, like, no, let's run it back. So who knows if Jamal would have came in if they called a timeout or whatever. But just the fact that I'm going to be optimistic here and say that he will eventually kind of work his way back into that goal line work, or at least get some goal line work. Now, Jamal Williams, of course, is going to still vulture some carries because he's been playing great and he leads the league in touchdowns. But with that schedule going against the Jets, Panthers, and Bears, it just with the Jets and Bears, there is some, there is a possibility that it could be a high-scoring game for both teams, depending on if Fields is back for the Bears, especially. But yeah, I feel comfortable starting him. I have to because he was my first pick, but it does this past matchup bodes well for what we could possibly see for the playoff run.
Yeah, as the resident Lions fan, it was really exciting to see Swift out there for as much as he was on the field. I mean, we see it right here on the screen. Over 50% of the snaps, which compared to the past 4 weeks is a huge jump. So I think he's back. The Lions have the 10th easiest running back schedule moving forward, and I think I don't think it'll be a complete takeover. I think we can expect quite a few more Jamal Williams 1-yard touchdowns, but I think Swift's back. He looked good. He looked good this past week, and I'm amped to see it. It's the targets really that get me excited.
Definitely,
Only thing
yeah.
that
I
sucks
was going to
is
say that too. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say the other thing that sucks is that most likely if you didn't draft well for the rest outside of your first pick, it's kind of you're fighting for that consolation bracket. Maybe try to get your money back, but if you somehow were to draft well or follow us because I drafted him and here I am in the playoffs. Maybe
Yeah,
this
I
would be a
think the leagues
fortunate
that I
stretch
have
for
him
you.
in, I'm in the playoffs too.
Yeah, so there you go.
Yeah, listen, I'm not a Lions fan, but I am a huge Swift truther with you, Dante. I did buy a jersey, a signed DeAndre Swift jersey for my fantasy league this year, and ended up not getting him. And maybe it was for the better, you know. But yeah, I'm all in on DeAndre. He's an animal. I saw him last week doing those jump cuts that he does so well. He looks healthy, or getting back to it, and he looks good. So few games coming up. I don't really think they're in the hunt for anything. They may be in the wild card hunt. Kyle, am I wrong on that one?
Oh, they're still in the hunt, man.
They're
They're
in
on
the
a
hunt. Okay.
what is it?
So
A
yeah, they're going to
5-game
be
win
playing.
streak.
Exactly. They'll be playing some competitive football here. They're going to need them. So yeah, I'm all on board with the Swift turnaround. I mean, he looked really good to start the year, but you just saw the vulture touchdowns start coming left and right, and it was like, okay, what's going on? And then you start tweaking because last year it was my guy Anthony Lynn, but I called him Anthony Flynn. Anthony Lynn, love that man. He was a dump down king. He would give DeAndre Swift 10 targets a game last year. He leaves, new OC, and then you see this Jamal Williams stuff, and you're like, oh shit. So I'm a big Swift fan going forward. I think he's an animal. He'll be good to go.
I don't
Yeah,
think
I'm
I'll
looking.
draft him next year though.
You done with him?
I'm just gonna go out there on a limb. He could have a Christian McCaffrey year, and I'd still be like prime Christian McCaffrey year, and I'd be like, I'm gonna hold off. I'm gonna hold off.
Hey,
This
I
is just
think
too
I'm with
much.
you on that one. I think he falls like late second round next year.
All
That's
right.
that's
Well,
where I think.
if he falls to like the late second, early third, I have to pick him up there. But I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah,
picking him up at
100%.
the end of the first, beginning of the second. Like especially when the wide receiver strategy seems to be the way to go.
Right.
Yeah, the Lions are currently 2 spots out of the playoffs, but they're 2 games behind. So we're all actively praying for the Seahawks' downfall or the Giants. So
I don't know about that. Seahawks,
okay,
sure,
how
but
about this? How
Giants.
about this? Let's hope that the 49ers lose out, and then the Lions win in, and they'll be in.
There we go. I
Simple as
like
that.
that.
Sounds good.
Cool. Glad we can all come to an agreement there. So moving on to our next group of guys, league winners. These guys are kind of like the middle to lowish ranged rostered players that we think are going to have a huge role in their offenses moving forward and probably be league winners. These guys that were either picked up late or having a late resurgence. Guys we're really excited for rest of the season. So I'll kick us off here. And my guy here is good old Christian Watson, the better of the late emergence Watsons. But Christian Watson, rookie receiver, finally enters his bye week. But I mean, we saw the huge emergence week 10 with the 3 touchdowns. And since then, he leads the Packers in targets. And for Aaron Rodgers to finally find his guy, and that guy being Christian Watson, I don't know why you can't be super excited for Watson for somebody to finally come out of this group of guys. And it being Watson just shows that it's going to be an exciting rest of the year for him. They have a pretty rough rest of the season schedule in terms of like fantasy points allowed from opponents, but I think Watson is kind of not matchup proof, but can easily he's a deep guy. That and he can rush the ball. We saw he got a touchdown this past week on the ground. I think he's just kind of a guy who is going to find ways to score fantasy points. And I'm excited to see what he can do rest of the season. I unfortunately don't have enough Christian Watson. I wish I had a lot more, but he's an exciting guy, and I'm looking forward to see what he can do. And I think teams that have him on their rosters rest of the season in the playoffs are going to be very happy with what he can do. He's my kind of Amon-Ra kind of player for this year.
Yeah, I'm on board with that too. I was joking around earlier, but I think that what he's doing with his numbers right now is very Gabe Davis-esque, where he didn't see a lot of targets. It was really about one play a game that kind of made his fantasy day. But Watson's even doing a little bit more than that. Like you look at, he's only seeing 6 targets in the past 3 games, but has 20 points in all of them. And 1 touchdown, 2 touchdowns. He has like one play that kind of breaks it open, but he always adds on another play. So like this guy's going above and beyond, I think, of what it's expected of him. Rodgers right now obviously loves the guy. He's definitely his number 1 target. I feel like it didn't take very long for that kind of like favorite target for Aaron Rodgers to shift from like beginning of the year, it was a little bit of Dowds. And then once Lazard got healthy, it was a little bit of Lazard for a short period, and he's found his guy. I think they may have even known that Watson was the guy all along, but again, Watson even started out the season a little bit banged up. So, yeah, I think full throttle from here on out. Playoffs should be fun with this man.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they utilize him more in the offense. I think he was kind of known for that one rushing touchdown he had. It was kind of what he did all the time in college. So it'll be interesting to see how much they kind of use that play going forward. But I mean, they tried to get him involved first play of the season. I mean, he was a rookie, and the lights got a little too bright for him at that moment. But I mean, I'm starting to realize now, doing this for a couple of years, is like these rookie wide receivers, even Treylon Burks, like is starting to pop off later. They pop off later in the season as opposed to earlier, even though we kind of expect them to. For some wide receivers, it's not always going to be like a Jamar Chase situation or Justin Jefferson situation. Like most of them have to kind of get ingratiated into NFL style play. So this is something to monitor just for this class and future classes going forward, I guess.
Definitely. All right, let me move on to my league winner this year, man. So excited about him. Amari Cooper, my boy, my old boy from the Cowboys. I think he's going to have a great year, man. Like he has so far, dealing with the circumstances he's had with a bad football team, not so great quarterback. He has Deshaun Watson back. Last week, he saw 9 targets, and it was kind of a shit show. Like Deshaun obviously wasn't ready to go. He was still breaking out the cakes. He looked weird dropping back, stuff like that. Amari Cooper looked good. I think the past 3 years for the Dallas Cowboys, he's been hurt at one point in the season, and whether or not he played through it, you could tell that he was slow. He was a little bit slower than usual. This year, I'll give him props, man. It's sad to see him go like this and finally be healthy, but the man looks good. He's healthy. He looks good. He's running fast. And I feel like maybe it's not this week against a tough Cincinnati team, but maybe the last 3 weeks of the season against Baltimore, who gives up a lot of points to receivers, New Orleans and Washington. I think that this is that bridge that you're going to see. I think Deshaun finally works out the kinks. I think that they lose to Cincinnati next week, but I think it's very close and Deshaun gets back on track. And here is my league winner. I think Deshaun Watson's going to make it happen, and Amari Cooper will be still making me proud as an ex-Cowboy here.
Yeah, I agree. I think Deshaun, I mean, it's the first game since 2020, so we can't really count that. But I think with Cincinnati, the upgraded level of play will only inspire him to try and match, and they kind of need to see what he can provide for this offense. I mean, this is just, I think they all know that this year is kind of just washed at this point. So it really just comes down to how Deshaun can fit in this offense, and Amari Cooper should be the most beneficiary to Watson's play. So yeah, I feel good with him going forward. I obviously have a stack in one of the leagues, so I'm hoping that that pays off in the end.
Yeah, I think the one thing to note here that I think will stay consistent is the targets. I think he floats around the double digits rest of the season, and for a receiver who's probably your second or third receiver to be that involved in an offense is all you can ask for. So I'm excited.
It's me, right?
All yours?
Let's hear it.
My guy is going to be Zonovan Knight. I'm sure people that follow the fantasy landscape have heard of this guy by now, but
Bam
the
Knight.
past yes, sir. The past 2 weeks, he's been going. He's had over 10 points, which for a waiver wire pickup, that's amazing. 16. This past week, he had 14 carries. Oh, I'm sorry. He had 15 carries for 90 yards, as well as 5 targets with 5 receptions for 28. Reason why I like this guy rest of the season, he's got a good schedule coming up. What was that? Detroit, Jacksonville, and Seattle. Really like all those teams. Seattle's got a pretty good defense, but that's more for wide receivers. I don't think they're really good at all at stopping the run, so should bode well for him there, especially for championship week. Uh, but yeah, Mike White, he loves checking down the running backs. He the past few times he's been playing, he's thrown thrown a check down to 11 he's had 11 receptions. The running backs have had 11 receptions each game as a committee when he checks when he plays. So, and James Robinson and Ty Johnson only had 5 carries total this past week. Now with Michael Carter coming back, there were some questions of whether he would play this week with the flu that's been going around, but it looks like he's clear to go. Even with him playing, I still feel confident in Zonovan performing well. Watching one of the games or plays, they had Michael Carter blocking for Zonovan White, so or Zonovan Knight, excuse me. So I feel like that kind of just tells you like who they want to give the ball to more primarily. Plus, he gets the goal line work, so I just feel like if you picked him up, um, he's someone that could potentially give you that advantage down the line.
Yeah, he was as involved as I think everybody had hoped he'd be. I think the one X factor is how involved Michael Carter will be once he returns. But even if they split work, I think this is a team that really likes to rely on their running backs. I mean, we've seen it succeed up to this point in the season. So I think that there's a role for him. And in that role, he's surely set up to succeed. He's special. It's surprising that he was their, I guess, fourth string running back at one point. But man, it's incredible that they were able to bounce back from Brees Hall. But also really upsetting to see where Brees Hall would be at this point.
Yeah, I'm curious what they're gonna do. He's Brees Hall obviously is not gonna play at the beginning of the next season. Maybe he does, depending on how his rehab goes, but most likely not. So it's curious to see how they're gonna kind of utilize that committee going forward when everyone's back healthy.
Yeah, I was going to double down on that as well. Just the targets in general. It's kind of like whoever's in that backfield, you could basically just trust with Mike White in this team, you know? Um, even, what's his name? Flacco to start the year, I believe, was dumping down balls left and right, left and right. And as soon as Zach Wilson came in, you kind of stopped seeing the dump downs as much. Everything was kind of like being forced downfield, and it wasn't really attractive for the fantasy perspective of the running back. So, yeah, I like anybody in that backfield right now catching passes, man. I mean, he's seeing the carries well over the other running backs, one of which they just traded for. So everything's looking good. Um, One thing I noticed, I don't want to get off track too much. North Carolina State. Does anybody know the mascot for that school? I I don't know if I've ever heard of North Carolina State. Are you guys familiar with it?
Didn't Russ
NC
play there for a
State,
little bit?
aren't
Russ?
they? Yeah.
He played at Wisconsin, and then he played before that. I think he played there at NC State. I'm not sure, but I don't remember them. I don't remember the mascot. No.
NC State. I'm trying to think of the mascot. I can't. I think it's like it might be a dude or something, but we'll have to take a look at it later. All right, Kyle. What's up
Doing,
next here?
doing a deep
Tuffy.
dive. The
Tuffy.
Tuffy.
Tuffy. Yeah.
Tuffy.
Mr. Yeah.
Interesting.
What's that?
No, it's
Mr.
that's
Mr.
they're
Wolf.
the wolf. They're the wolf pack.
Wolf Pack. That's right. Okay. NC State. Okay.
All right. Moving on. Desperation starts. I mentioned it earlier. Guys that you can and probably will be putting into your lineups, probably as your flex, and probably should feel good about it, but we'll still need to kind of say a prayer. Be like, oh, I really hope that I don't regret starting this guy. But realistically, you should feel good about it. Basically, guys that we feel good about, but there's also that part of us that's just like, I could totally see where this guy puts up 0 3 weeks in a row. So I'll kick us off. My guy staying on the Jets, Corey Davis. Corey Davis is back. He's healthy. He is the number 2 receiver on the New York Jets on a team. I mean, we saw it last week. They threw it 59 times, which is insane. And realistically, I don't see them stopping doing that. They're going to throw it 59 times and they're going to run it 30 somehow. They're going to have the ball that much. But they want to throw. And Corey Davis was on the field. He had the second most snaps of receivers on the Jets. And the Jets, moving forward for the rest of the season, have the easiest receiver schedule for in PPR. So the rest of the season their opponents have given up the most fantasy points to receivers. And when you get a team that likes to pass a lot, you get the Jets and you get the second receiver on this team, and it's Corey Davis. He saw 10 targets last week. And I think he catches a lot more of those. Truthfully, I don't think they throw 59 times, but they're willing to. And because of that, Corey Davis is going to benefit. He's a guy that you want to start. I want you to start him. I'm probably starting him this week. But you're also like, oh, this guy could show up and have a catch for 2 yards. But at the same time, the process is there. I think you should start him. I'm going to be starting him. I think he's a fantastic flex play this week and moving forward. We see in weeks 15, 16, the start of the season, if you're hurting that receiver, you're hurting that flex, you've got all your guys just kind of chilling in your starting rosters. I think those are 2 of the best weeks that he could have back to back. I'd honestly consider starting Elijah Moore. That's a joke. I won't start him. But that's how bad those defenses are to the wide receiver position. So if you've got Corey Davis, or if he's available, he's rostered in just 26% of leagues, pick him up. You might have a fantastic flex option coming up for the playoffs. So feel good about it. But
yeah.
Also know that he could be a stinker.
Hey, that's the risk you take, and it's not even a high risk. You're dropping someone that's probably low end anyways, and you're getting a high upside guy. Corey Davis, when he's healthy, I absolutely love him in that Jets offense. So I wouldn't have anything to fear with him, other than the Jets maybe waking up and realizing that Elijah Moore is also really good. Maybe they get him involved eventually, but might not be this year. So yeah. I love Corey Davis, man. I'm going to go on to mine here. My desperation start. Same situation that Kyle just laid out for you guys. He could be good off the wire. He could be absolutely awful. And that's Juju Smith. This is someone that we were kind of all pretty damn high on to start the year. And as we kind of saw, it wasn't so much that like Juju wasn't good. It's kind of that they didn't need him. The Chiefs we all kind of had this like subconscious feeling that maybe Mahomes was going to take a step back. Maybe they weren't going to be as good. And that's not true at all. Mahomes, if anything, is playing better and he's being more decisive where he puts the ball. But I think this is that time in the year for the Chiefs that they're going to have to evolve the offense. They're going to have to take another step. I think everything that they put on film this year is basically run the ball, Travis Kelce, and hope someone can make a play out of the receivers. And I think they're going to have to rely on one of these receivers more. I picked Juju because he's the most versatile and where he lines up and stuff like that. So I think from here on out, going forward, they'll like to rely on him and try to pick on some of the matchups that he gets. I was also thinking MVS as one of these guys as well, desperation play. You've seen him make a few big plays in the past few games as well. But I feel like him just being strictly an outside receiver is going to kind of limit him. He's going to kind of have that stretch the field role. And I think that's where Travis Kelce and Juju come in. So I think, I think the Chiefs are going to start picking it up. End of the season, they got some really easy opponents coming up for the most part. I mean, who knows? Denver's a divisional game; they might give them issues. But Bumboy Russ, I just can't see him doing anything, and he still is bum. Let's get that out of the way right now.
It's one season, Jesus Christ. You gotta have one season and a new offense, which the OC's not even like that good. Can we cut him slack?
No.
I mean, come on.
No slack for us. No slack for us. Listen, we'll keep that for another time. We can go for another half an hour on that. But, Juju's my desperation kind of play there. If you have him on the team or if he's on the wire, which in some deeper or thinner leagues, I mean, he would, or deeper, thinner, he would be. But yeah, I like him going forward. I think the Chiefs have to rely on these guys and start using the receivers actually. And I think he's the guy for the job. So we'll see.
Outside of that Russ comment, I do agree that Juju could potentially have some sort of upside there, especially going against Houston, Seattle. Those are all teams I feel comfortable with that Kansas City offense at least. Pat tends to choose who's going to have the big day outside of Travis, but I do feel like Juju could potentially get those possession catches down the line. As for me, my guy is going to be Michael Gallup, Cowboys receiver. He had 2 touchdowns last week. Now, that could be a little misleading because it was a blowout and he only had 4 receptions and 2 of those were touchdowns. But I do think that now he's kind of the injury isn't as much as a concern as it was in the beginning when he played. The targets look nice, 8 and 7, in an offense where Dak likes to get the ball to a lot of different people. I do feel like Gallup is starting to get back to where he was at his best. So he had 7 targets in the last 2 games. Jacksonville, week 15. He has Houston, 14. Philly is a team that I would, if you could potentially find someone for that week outside of him, that would be the only week that I kind of would feel not good about starting him. But Tennessee championship week, I feel great about that. Again, it's a desperation pick, so I'm not expecting him to have 20 points at any of these weeks, but if he can get you over 10 to 15, that's kind of what the job is requiring him to do at this point. So I do feel good about him doing that for at least 2 of the 3 playoff weeks going forward.
Hey, as a Cowboys fan, I can double down on it. I absolutely love the pick. For the most part, I guess you guys could say I'm a pretty fair Dallas fan. I've been pretty fair to them throughout the years. Just knowing that every year they're one of the best teams in the league. And then playoff time, everybody else is shocked. I'm not shocked. Everybody else is shocked they do bad. Now, I like Gallup, though, especially the news with OBJ saying he's probably not going to be ready for another month. And now you get a healthy Michael Gallup coming back, dude, against some really great matchups, as Dante pointed out. So I'm excited for the man.
quick honorable mention though. I want to say, and a good potential wide receiver for Week 16 is DJ Moore. It was between him and Gallup, but now that Darnold's back, I kind of feel more confident. He had 103 yards and he scored last week, so I feel like now that he's back to the old quarterback that he had a rapport with, I feel kind of confident. I would feel confident starting him if he needed someone else other than Gallup.
Dude, I think the Panthers and the Jets should just trade quarterbacks for the rest of the year and just see who could be good where. They're all the same guys. I feel like they really thought Baker was the guy. They really thought PJ Walker was the guy. Why Darnold was kind of not healthy, but besides the fact, and now Darnold's the guy. Like, I feel like it's the same situation for the Jets. Everybody's looking for somebody, and then you got the Saints that Andy Dalton's the guy, and they're not looking at anybody else. I feel like all these quarterbacks are the same for the most part. Like, they just get shuffled around the league too much.
There
The
is
Jets
no
already
guy
tried.
like-
The Jets already tried Darnold, so I don't know if they want to rock with that again. But outside of that, they had Baker for a little bit. I kind of had high hopes for him in the beginning of the season, but
Yeah.
he's just not. He doesn't pull through. There's something about him. I don't know. He still gets those progressive commercials though. That's not him.
I haven't seen him this year.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought he still got I thought I saw a couple. He at least gets the Heisman, the Nissan Heisman.
Oh yeah. He's still getting paid for those. He's a pretty
Does Baker Mayfield start over what's his name this week?
It being a Thursday game is tricky. I don't think so.
Yeah,
Would have been
not.
fun to see. Would have been definitely interesting.
He makes. I would put money on him starting next week though.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah.
I'd be very interested if he shows up in town and they're like, no, this guy's worse than the guys we have.
Yeah, it depends on if he gets the wide receivers the ball.
True.
Who knows? All right, let's wrap it up here. So that was not like that. That was our fantasy, I guess, playoff roundup. Our expectations. The guys were hyped to watch, hyped to have on our rosters, or guys were probably scooping up if they're still on waivers. So if you enjoy it, hopefully you're in the playoffs. I would assume if you're watching this, you are. And if we helped you get you there, be sure to comment, like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Give us a follow on our socials, First Seed Fantasy and First Seed Sports, and our individual names here, as you can see. And as you can tell, hold on, let me get it here. Use code First Seed on Underdog. Get 100% deposit match up to $100. Double your money. You put in $100, you get $100 back. You basically get double the money to play around with. Hop into weekly, dailies, draft a team just for the week. If you're in the playoffs, you got nothing to play for this week, do a draft. Have something fun to play with this week. Or if you're out of playoffs and you're still watching this, congrats. But if you're out of the playoffs, looking for something to do, try Underdog, draft a team. You get a new team. You can draft a new team every week, and with code First Seed, you get 100% deposit match. Hard to beat, and we love it. So, with that, guys, good luck. And Mike and Dante, thanks for joining me, and I look forward to beating each of you in the championship.
Hey, if it comes down to it, I'm just glad it was one of us,
Absolutely.
No, I'd only be glad if it's me. You can get second place. You can get some sort of consolation. I'll be happy to give you your money back, but
Dante's here just for the trophy.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. And we'll see you next time.
Peace.